Charlie Puth has not released an album in 4 years. And as the follow-up to Voice Notes, I can say without a doubt that this is more than a decent album. Comparing this album to a movie, I'd call it a summer blockbuster. And that's because it's at times dumb, moves very fast, has a lot of action, sonically of course, and at times if you don't take it too seriously, then it's good. The only problem I have with this album is that Charlie sometimes advertised it as a character study and said it would be really deep, and while on some facets that is true, you have songs like That's Hilarious and whatnot, most of the songs are kind of lyrically repetitive, and that's fine. Most of the songs on this project are lyrically repetitive. What I mean by that is not that they are repeating like, you turn me on like a light switch, you turn me on like a light switch, you turn me. I'm not talking about that type of repetitive. I'm talking about where it's a very similar concept seen through every single song. Marks on My Neck covers a very similar topic as Tears on My Piano or Left and Right. Loser covers ground that songs like That's Hilarious covers. And that's really a minor nitpick that lyrically the album can get repetitive, because aside from that, the production throughout this project is extremely strong. The catchiness of each song is there. The way these songs are written, the structure of them is pretty well. One other small complaint I would have is that some of these songs are way too short. Some of them reach like 2 minutes and 18 seconds, and some of them don't even try when it comes to time. I was happy when certain songs like Smells Like Me reached like 3 minutes and 38 seconds. I was like, that is a decent song length. There's really not too much to say about this album just because it is so solid. For me, there is really no bad track. My least favorite track on this album has to be Tears on My Piano, and that's only because I think out of everything on this album, it's the only track that feels truly like the most repetitive. It kind of covers not only lyrical ground that we've covered before, but sonic ground that we've covered before. It's a mix of If You're Sad, I'm Sad, or whatever that song title is. I'm sorry, it's not coming to my head. I don't have the album next to me right now. That's Voice Notes, by the way, not Charlie. It's a mix of that track and other more upbeat songs like There's a First Time for Everything. So, like I said, it covers both the lyrical and sonic ground that I've heard before, which is why it's my least favorite song on the project. But that does not mean it's a bad song, because it's not. I gave it like a 7 out of 10. So you must be wondering, what's my score then for this project? Well, unfortunately, this is nowhere near Voice Notes. As good as it is, Voice Notes was a masterpiece. I don't think anything will get near the greatness of Voice Notes. That album is just perfection on most levels. With that said, though, I do think that this album is a very strong follow-up to Voice Notes, seeing as it had insurmountable odds and all signs pointed towards this album being a flop in one way or another. It followed such a great album. Most of the songs, inspirations came off TikTok. If that's not a setup for a failure, I don't know what is. So with all those thoughts, I think that this album receives an 8.5 out of 10 because it's just pure fun, and I know I'm going to be listening to it a ton in the future. Probably going to buy a CD of it soon being the keyword. I don't want a deluxe to drop. See, this is my thing. Okay, quick tangent here. I am a physical collector. As you can see, the movies behind me and even some of the CDs. I got more CDs over there. You can't see them right now, but I have CDs there in the corner of my room. I like buying things physical, but I can't buy CDs because sometimes you have people going like, hey, we're gonna release a deluxe CD right after you buy the original version of it. That's like if movies all the time said, we're gonna release the extended version of this movie on a totally different Blu-ray after releasing the original Blu-ray. That's so dumb. That has happened with a few movies, and it has tainted my trust in buying Blu-rays. Like how with Spider-Man No Way Home, I bought that one, and then a few months later they announced the extended cut. Thank God it was only 10 minutes, and most of the extended stuff in there was absolutely useless. It remains to the point that extendeds, aka in the CD world, deluxe is release them at the same time as physical or don't release them at all. Put it on a different album. Put it on the follow-up, because you are not doing your physical collectors any favors. You're just making them buy the same thing with a few extra minutes of something all over again. Like when buying Justin Bieber's Justice, I knew I couldn't buy the original version of it. I knew I couldn't. I had to find the deluxe with not only the deluxe tracks, but there's like a Japanese version with 3 extra bonus tracks. So I knew I can't buy the original, which that's gonna be sad for me, because now the next time Justin drops a CD, I'm gonna wait. I'm not buying that thing immediately. I don't care how big of a Justin Bieber fan you are or something. I'm not gonna buy the original CD and then a CD with like 3 extra tracks on it and then a CD with another 2 extra tracks on it. I'm waiting till the final thing comes out. Side tangent there, sorry. But yes, Charlie Puth's album is an 8.5 out of 10. Let's move on, because this is a double review. We are reviewing Jake's album, This Is What Blank Feels Like, Volume 1 through 4. Jake is also stylized as JVKE. It's kind of clever, I guess, but makes it really a pain to say it and kind of like tell someone, who are you listening to? I'm listening to Jake. I can't find that on Apple Music or Spotify. Well, it's spelled with a V. It's kind of annoying. But this album's singles made me really excited for the project. This Is What Love Feels Like blew up on TikTok and everybody loved that song. And the first time I heard it, I was like, this has a pretty ethereal feeling to it. And then more and more singles were dropping, and the single Golden Hour dropped, and I actually posted on my Instagram when that single dropped. I said Jake is gonna drop an album of the year, and I wasn't wrong, because he did. I am more than happy to say that this album was a really good album. I was happy with it. I've listened to it about like 60 times, no cap. So much of it is replayable in every aspect of the word, and like, remember how I've said before, I like narrative albums. This isn't exactly a concept album, but it is a narrative. It is a story of Jake going through the motions of a relationship with one girl. He falls in love, they break up, he has the heartbreak, he feels sad, then he gets back together with her, and the cycle kind of continues. It's a really good story. It's really fun to listen to. And I honestly didn't think that I'd have as many hits on one album as this album did give me, because when I was listening to it, like, the album opens up with This Is What Love Feels Like. And I was like, okay. And then Moon and Back started playing, and I'm like, okay. And then This Is What Heartbreak Feels Like starts playing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love this song. And then Ghost Town plays, and then we get This Is What Sadness Feels Like, and I'm like, okay, I can keep going. And then Wonder If She Loves Me goes, and I'm like, if I had any critiques for this album, there would be 2. First, my least favorite track, which is I'm Not Okay. It's not a bad song, it's just out of the greatness of every other track, it is the weakest song. It's not as good as the others, but it still is, like, compare it to an album that's a 6 out of 10, like, any song from that album, this song beats it. So, and the second critique, and this is a nitpick, is that sometimes the album can blend in with its own sound. Some of the tracks can end up feeling like, hey, this sounds a lot like the track I heard before. That sounds a lot like track 1. This sounds a lot like track 10. This sounds a lot like track 4. Like, sometimes it sounds too similar. Aside from that, though, this is an excellent album, and I just recommend you listen to it if you haven't. There are so many highlights to it. The second half of This Is What Sadness Feels Like is absolutely amazing. Wonder If She Loves Me, I adore that song. Favorite song off the album. From the singles, you have Golden Hour, This Is What Heartbreak Feels Like, especially the beginning of that song. Whew. And like I said, just this album is constant hit after memorable hit after just great moments throughout. And for all of those reasons, the album gets a 9 out of 10. It's not absolute perfection, and that is why an entire point is deducted, because, 10 out of 10 goes to only absolute perfection. But it's pretty dang close. Hopefully this double review isn't like too long. There's not really that much to say about either of these albums except that they're both really good, and listen to them if you haven't. So there you go. Please remember to like, share this video, comment, and subscribe to my channel because I'm trying to hit 500 subs by the end of the year, and if I can't, I'm trying to have 500 subs by midway next year. So remember, there's only two things I know. I know that Jesus is king and that JT knows best. See you guys next time.